100 feet
I did
tall.
see that.
I did.
Yeah.
That was amazing.
Which kind of spoke, we started Surge last year at .conf in October, and so having us discuss on the keynote was phenomenal, but it's really representative of the people who have at Splunk, right? Like Surge was up on the lights, but the reality is there's a threat research team, there's hundreds of other folks who are doing incredible security work, and that's what we do, right? The people aspect. So it was it was fun to see, but it's it's the tip of the iceberg, right? The shiny part.
Yeah,
so,
a lot of moving parts underneath it.
But I definitely have photos of gigantic Kovar over tiny Katie. And we had the best Freudian slip ever around Log4Shell. So make sure you rewatch that.
Yeah, make sure you check that keynote out again.
What about Mick? Thoughts?
For me, aside from everything you mentioned, the biggest takeaway for me was Jennings Askey, the CISO for New York Presbyterian. And when COVID hit, the workload they had to take on was tremendous. And what they're doing now is kind of shifting and expanding their deployment to help combat the opioid crisis, the way opioid administration kind of combat some of that fraud. So I think doing something like that, dry air.
The opioid crisis, it's an important issue.
Right, and so what they're doing, I think it's going to be detecting that fraud is going to pay off dividends quickly, tremendously. So I'm looking forward to seeing that and talking a bit more about it later.
I will say, if there was one thread I saw, which I've been going, this is my ninth conf, I think. The first one I went to was 2013 as a customer.
Oh, wow.
And I've never heard the word security talked about as much. Like there was really a thread. There were a lot of new things coming out that are going to be fun, but it's just, security is there. It's a big part of what we do. So it's nice to see up there.
For me, I always thought that was a weird thing because I had been a Splunk user for years before I came to Splunk, and I thought Splunk was a security company. Mm-hmm. And so when I started in 2020, I first SKO, I realized, security is just a fraction of what Splunk does, but there's so much more. I use it just for security. So I'm as a security guy, I am happy to kind of get more attention because security folks, we do like attention.
Well, we got to stroke that Mick ego. It's a
Mick ego. I think it's a
Mick ego.
Well, so today was the first official day of .conf, but for us, yesterday was very busy. We had a lot going on, including a conference within a conference that Mick worked so hard to organize.
So if you are familiar with Splunk, we do enjoy things called SIM. So we took it a step further, and yesterday we had our inaugural, and I hope we have many more, of Splunk Insider Minicon. Basically, it's a conference within a conference. A bunch of our really, really great friends and cybersecurity research within the community came out and hung out for a day, and we had a room full of really great customers and friends that came in, and we just talked cybersecurity for a day about some of the things we're seeing, whether it was, we covered the range. ICS to healthcare to
scalable Splunk searches on threatening.
On threatening, a very important topic. I think it was a great thing. I think, like we mentioned, I know Splunk from a security use case, and so many of the security folks we brought in yesterday were just kind of help us establish that foundation we want to build on.
It felt like a real security conference, like a ShmooCon, a DEF CON, maybe more of like a Sky Talks.
Yes.
We did have one person say we had more curses per words of any Splunk conference ever.
It was very unfiltered, which I appreciated. I like to hear,
the spice was real.
Opinions.
There was a very real spice.
3 chili spice combo, but it was real. It was unfiltered. People giving the real thoughts in a Chatham House Rules sort of environment.
But I think, the folks that came, I hope you had a great time. I hope you enjoyed it. Please let us know how we can get better, what went wrong, what went right, and how we can improve on it. But I think the folks I've talked to had a really great time, and that was a very full day. And then immediately after that, we had dinner. Juan Andres Guerrero, Nina Ali, Joe Slowick all came out. But then you departed for a bit for your 137th bots. What?
Yeah, so Boss of the SOC. If you've never heard of Boss of the SOC before, we started it about 7 years ago. Some great friends, Brad Lindau, who's somewhere here as a customer now, Dave Harold, a whole bunch of other folks, James Brodsky, and the general idea is it's a blue team CTF. It is now arguably one of the world's largest in-person CTFs. Last time we did it in person, we had 1,000 plus people. This time I think we had 400 in person and 1,400, I think, give or take, globally, virtually. So it was a good time, but you kind of go through use cases. You're defending Frothly, the beer startup, against adversaries, the violent memes.
Frothly is the most attacked brewery in the world.
Their seasonality,
terrible luck.
in case you don't know, if you've never played, it says every July, Alice takes a European vacation. She takes off for a month. Sometimes she goes to Burning Man. She has a great time.
and then every nation state threat actor decides they really
1 month.
enjoy beer intellectual property.
Yep.
There we go.
But if you never play, it's a fantastic scenario. If you're not a Splunk user, you're not a network defender, you can pick it up pretty easily. And the coaching, I thought, was the best part for me. You know, from Tom Smith all the way on down, everyone was super helpful.
Yeah. Dozens of people are involved in making it. Then we had dozens of coaches.
And on a short timeline, too. I think Tom did an amazing job of pulling this together. Normally, what is it, 6 months to do?
Yeah, usually we do about 6 months.
Yeah.
We did it in about 3.5. And this was your first time ever. You know, you were a journalist in a previous life, so you actually got to do Splunk hunting. What are your thoughts? You've never done probably a CTF before.
Well, I did Boss of the SOC for the first time back in October.
That's right.
For the
You had only been here for like a
virtual.com.
month.
We were in Boulder.
And I played for 8 hours straight. I don't know if you remember that.
I do.
But
Yeah.
I loved it.
It was mostly just logging in, I think. That's the.
No, I was able to answer some of the questions, and it's challenging for me, you know, coming into this without the background. But, you know, I learned a lot from it, and that was kind of my introduction to Splunk and enterprise security and SOAR. So.
And since then, what, Security Plus, Linux Plus, you're just crushing all the things.
Yeah,
right?
you're knocking down those certs, dude.
I'm
Making us
working
look
at
bad
it,
is really what we're saying in the long term. But no, I thought Boss was a fantastic event.
Oh, and
I have
great.
Nothing but great things.
Gary keynoted. He gave a little intro speech, was phenomenal. I missed it. It's really nice to be back. We're sitting here in this weird little plexiglass thing, surrounded by the partner pavilion. And I remember my first partner pavilion at conf 2013 was not much bigger than the room we're in right now.
Yeah.
So to see the company kind of grow, I think we had like 1,200 employees then. Now we're like, what, 7,400 or something?
Around there. I think my first big conf I remember was 2015 in DC. I'd gone once before that, but I think that was one in DC where I just remember the scope and size of it. And being here at the MGM, it's new location. I think it's gotten bigger, but for some reason it still feels really like an intimate affair.
Yeah.
We can go outside of this booth and have this conversation at this volume, and I think we'd be all right. I think it's been fantastic.
It works.
Yeah.
So I have to ask, Audra, it's your first .conf in person. What's been the biggest? Oh, that's a thing.
That's a thing.
There's always a thing.
Well, there's a pony.
It's Buttercup.
Buttercup just
Actually,
ran
nothing to
behind
do with
us,
the
so that's
conference.
a thing.
No, that's actually just
that just
that's
happened.
just Vegas.
somebody else.
Oh, that's unrelated.
No,
Yeah.
it's completely unrelated.
Just someone decided to dress up.
Doug came after all.
Yeah.
Gosh, that's a tough question. I think it's, you know, seeing the turnout for Boss of the SOC was really eye-opening, just to see so many people as excited about
Hard
it
to
as we
describe. I
are.
tried to tell people about it.
Yeah.
And once again, if you've never been to one, it starts off with what I consider to be a very entertaining kickoff. Tom improved it this year, which is phenomenal. And then it's 4 hours of nerds not talking and staring at their computer and getting angry when people interrupt them.
Yeah.
It's 1,000 people staring at a computer and not moving. Catheters are involved. It's very awkward.
It's a good time, though. It's a good time, and I'm just really excited to be a part of it this year, to see how it's developed and how much work goes into it, too, because, you know, we have an alpha and a beta that we go through to test it out and make sure all of the questions make sense. So it is a pretty thorough process, and so it was really cool seeing it all come together. So I guess looking back at today, since we only have one day of .conf, what has been your highlight so far, Ryan?
It's a lame answer, but it's the people. It's, you know, it feels like a lifetime at Splunk. I've been here for 7 years, and I've been lucky enough to talk to a lot of the folks that we work with fairly regularly on Zoom. But to your point, like, there's folks who's worked for me that I've never seen in person or I haven't seen for a pretty long time. There's customers and partners that I haven't seen for 5 years. You know, maybe they missed a conf and kind of back and forth, so that's been incredible. You know, hearing security just so emphasized in the keynote was huge. It is legitimately one of my favorite things I do here at Splunk, and it's the reason I'm here. So
Yeah.
I think for me was sleeping in a little bit. I thought that was super awesome. I think
you must have a very benevolent boss who will let you sleep.
My boss is the best, and he's going to give me a spot bonus from what I've heard. It's what I heard, folks. You heard on TV.
Special pieces of trash. That's what
I
you're gonna
think
get.
for me, the biggest takeaway, because of all the things that I was working on with Insider Minicon the past month or so, is just I've helped plan conferences, I've helped put on conferences, but nothing of this scope.
Yeah.
So working with folks like Aaron Watson from Halo, who was a tremendous help, Sam Siegel from Jack Morton, the back end of making all these things
the global event management team that actually makes this whole thing happen
is incredible. And even on the Splunk side, Kathleen Castiliak, Katie Sacco, just all the back-end pieces of making everything happen yesterday
Right.
In less than 2 months' time. I think that's the behind-the-scenes part, because like I said, I've done conference work before, but the scope and size of Conf and all the work behind the scenes, it's really a testament to all of them. Like you mentioned with Serge earlier, it's not just us, it's all the moving pieces and help out underneath it. I think Conf is that in spades.
Yep.
So we were at RSA last week.
Yes.
We talked a bit. We said kind of the driving theme at RSA last week was probably XDR. Was there anything else you saw, now that it's been a week or so, anything that you're like, oh, that kind of pulled out that thread?
Aside from the COVID cases, just RSA was RSA. I think the biggest takeaway for me, again, from the XDR thing, outside of that, I think more folks are becoming cognizant of, hey, there is a lot more data. Our footprint is growing, whether that's OT, IT, IoT, just that shadow IT we never want to talk about. There's so much out there, and you need to get ahead of it and get control of that data. I think folks become more aware of that and more aware of it's not just IT. Right. It's OT, it's ICS. There are threats all around. You have to combat those differently.
Oh, absolutely. And when we were at RSA, you emceed a panel with Nozomi Networks about OT security and identifying your crown jewels and how the prioritization with OT is a little bit different than IT.
Oh,
like
100%.
The way you approach
100%.
And I think that was a big focus of RSA. And great job, by the way. That was a really fun panel.
Thank you. Yeah, I think the biggest thing for me, and talking to Danielle Jablansky out there, was what was the phrase? Business disruption. Okay, we grew up IT, we grew up cybering. So if your computer gets some malware on it, all you do is just take it off the network, isolate it, and go.
Right.
If it's an OT system, you really, I guess it's not a good idea.
You don't turn off the nuke?
I've heard it's bad. I heard it's going to end bad for you, but I think that is becoming more of an established thing. Right. Because us coming from the cyber end of it, we'll just take it off the network, you're fine. And much like a pie factory, you can't do that.
You can't burn down the pie factory.
Speaking of that, one of the talks I went to today actually was Leslie Carhart at Dragos. She had a session today about OT security, specifically incident response, because she leads up their incident response there. And I thought that was really valuable. And Dragos actually has a game on bots.splunk.com. It's called One Up, I think. I haven't had a chance to play it yet, but I need to, because Dragos is a great company, and I want to see what they're up to with their...
So that's a good segue, right?
Yeah.
We are actually at a conference, and I know we have folks... I'm talking tomorrow. Shannon Davis and I have a talk on our ransomware his ransomware white paper that he let me get a free ticket to Conf off of, but I'm his boss, so he has to do what I tell him.
We all do. We all do.
And then we had others. Marcus LaFerrera spoke today with a virtual Jose Hernandez from the threat research team. We have like 10 talks or something,
right?
Yeah.
We have.
It's a fair amount,
So Drew Church, our producer for Coffee Talk, he is doing a talk tomorrow. He's somewhere around
here. Under the camera.
I can't see beyond the lights, but he's speaking about splunking the endpoint, return of the endpoint. So I guess
that's a long-running talk.
Yes.
Usually done with James Brodsky. James Brodsky, formerly at Splunk, now a wonderful partner of ours over at Okta, but they were doing the talk together. James had to drop out, but it is the deep dive in endpoint for the last 5 years. It's incredible. Highly recommend if you can make it.
Yeah, that talk, it's just a continuation of the previous talk, It's a fantastic, from start to now, any questions you ever had about endpoint,
he's got them.
Yeah, it's fantastic.
And I think also tomorrow, Haley Mills is doing a talk about risk-based alerting, RBA. So that's about curating your risk ecology, basically how you can tune based off of risks in your environment to really reduce false positives and alert fatigue. And I'm really looking forward to that one as well. She is the
I might have been
RBA.
100 feet tall today on stage, but the person who everyone is talking about is Haley Mills at RBA. It's
100%.
Not only one of the nicest humans I know, she's just doing great stuff there.
Let's see, what else do we have? Tom Smith is speaking about detecting server-side request forgeries in AWS with Splunk Enterprise, ES, and Stream. He's also delivering a talk about behind the music, the making of Splunk bots. Which
they're going to tell some backstories there, some the B-sides that I'm probably not going to watch because I don't want to be attributed. That's the
or embarrassed.
Mostly embarrassed.
Yeah, mostly embarrassed.
There's a lot of Kovar memes inside there this time.
And tomorrow, I believe it's tomorrow. I might be getting my times wrong, but I know Megan Parsons and James Young. They're doing a talk about detection engineering with Splunk Attack Range, which is open source and available for anyone to use.
Created by our incredible threat research team. We use it at Surge as well. It's a phenomenal tool.
Yep, and Kelsey Bourne, who is a Surge member, along with James Young, they're doing a talk about AI and machine learning, which is something that Kelsey is very knowledgeable about.
It is her wheelhouse, yes.
Yes, that is her wheelhouse. So machine learning for security is that talk that I'm looking forward to. I'll be there. I think that's tomorrow around noon, maybe.
Yep.
And James is also doing a talk about Zero Trust, if that hasn't happened yet.
I think it already happened.
Did it already happen?
Yeah.
Okay, I wasn't sure.
I'm pretty sure James always talks about Zero Trust. That's randomly
I
in
have zero
conversations.
trust in him not talking about
Yeah,
zero
yeah.
trust.
Hey,
So
how's
those
your
are-
day? Zero Trusts.
Yeah, those are some of the talks that are happening, and yeah, I'm really looking forward to the RBA one. I'm definitely going to be there tomorrow.
What I like about these talks is, we're at Splunk, we're at the .conf. A lot of the talks here are around things, if I'm very honest, that never really appealed to me. I don't really care about index or replications. It's wonderful that humans do, because I don't get to play my searchy APT threat hunting without that. But the amount of talks that are actually focused on using the product for detections or solving these business problems like Zero Trust, we're starting to get more of them, and it's a big focus, and it's just fun to see.
But I think that's indicative of a shift in Splunk overall. I mean, like, you started, 7 years ago? It's not the same company it was 7 years ago.
I even remember when I was a customer, and we were trying to buy Splunk, and the sales rep told us, you can use it for security, I guess, but, we just do, Windows event logs. So I was like, oh, no, sir.
My friend, let me show you. And to your point, to see the use cases for Splunk, really, if I'm looking from a security aperture, it's been amazing. And I think we're going to see more and more of that. Just the bigger Splunk gets, the more folks that use Splunk, I think it's going to be fantastic to see just that information being shared. Like, one of our tenets at Surge is, the whole blue collar for blue team. The work we do, hey, anyone can use it. Yep. And all the talks you're seeing this week, that content is going to be out distributed, and you can leverage that in your environment as well.
Yep, that's very true.
We're at about 20 minutes. We're going to be back tomorrow.
And the next day.
And the next day.
Thursday.
Yep.
And then we're going to take a break for a month. So I feel like we should probably call it a day and go get beer and pretzels and find that pony.
I do see a beer and pretzel place. Well, what are you doing the rest of the night? I know you and I are going to...
we're doing a whiskey tasting. with some
Oh,
journalists.
fun.
Well, we'll see.
I might be taking a nap. I have not had much sleep in the last week and a half, but it's worth it. I mean, I feel like everything this week has just been amazing, and seeing everyone in person, it's been a great experience so far. So.
I think the biggest thing for me so far has been last week at RSA and this week here at Conf, some of the folks I've been working with for years at Splunk, I just met in person.
Yeah.
Wonderful.
And I refuse to believe it. No,
Right.
you sure we haven't met? We've met. It's just been emails and Zoom calls. So it's been fantastic for that level of it. I'm looking forward to more of that, and as well as talks tomorrow. It's been great.
Exactly.
Well, there we go. Join us tomorrow, where myself, Mick, Mac, and Audra will be making an appearance. If you want to see more bad puppetry, please join us tomorrow. Other than that, production, please take us away, because I need a pretzel.
Hundreds of pretzels.
Like
Thanks,
many
everyone.
pretzels.